Welcome back. It's unfortunate, but we have been reading more about crime in the city of Hagerstown. Colin, what is your take on crime in Hagerstown?
Well, to be perfectly honest, and as I've said many a time on the show, I live within walking distance of downtown, and I enjoy the fact that I live within walking distance of downtown. Anybody who thinks that our crime rate is very high, I would really invite that person to go spend a couple of hours in East Baltimore. And just for reference,
Just for kind of a
I
reference
think that, of course, any town this size is going to have its issues with vagrancy, with drug abuse, with all these things that occur in every segment of society. But I would not trade Hagerstown for any place else in the state, or for that matter in the country, personally.
Well, in Hagerstown does not have a crime problem as much as it has an appearance of a crime problem.
We have a Karen Harshman problem.
Well, that too.
Well, that might be the case too.
I would like to drop her off in Baltimore for a couple of hours. and see what her opinion is.
Well, you know that
okay,
in
not touching that one.
In Hagerstown, you can't walk from one block to the next without being, getting the Karen Harshman treatment, which is apparently being beaten, bludgeoned, and
Now, in all
chopped lip,
fairness, I
faced
do-
lip,
Yes,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I do this. We do this as a family pretty much every weekend, including my teenage son, and we never have any problems, including later at night if we're coming back from a restaurant.
Right.
So that never occurs, and that's where, yes, of course, any society has, or any segment of society has a problem with crime. There are breaking and enterings, there are robberies, there are all kinds of things that occur. But I think in a broader context, if you compare it to other areas of both the state and the country, we don't really have that many issues.
Right.
Well, recently,
we have more awareness of issues.
Yeah, we have more awareness. It's a small town. And recently, I actually got invited to eat with somebody. I was in the Rhubarb House, and this guy who lives at the Alexander House across the street invited me. I was by myself. He was by so we had an interesting lunch. And he was actually telling me, he said, I don't know what all these people are saying. I sit out there a lot in the square in Hagerstown with my buddy and friend, who happens to be black and he is white. And this guy, he retired from working as a cook up at Camp David and everything, and a disability because of his health problems. He said, I have never had a problem the whole time I've been here, and I live right here. I sit out in that.
I was born on Dunirvin, or I was born at the Washington County Hospital until I was about 9 or 10. I lived in Dunirvin Drive, right across the street from the Hagerstown City Park. Used to ride my bike into the city, to the city park, and even back in the early 90s, I always felt very safe. That's not to dismiss that Hagerstown doesn't have certain pockets of the city that has a crime problem.
Right.
You go in the West End, and this is not to pick on the West End, but there's a concentration of crime there.
Yeah, and that's not even the whole West End.
No, of course it's not.
Because
I live in the West End.
you live in the West End. I'm in the West End at least once per week, and there's, where I'm at in the West End, which is there's a church there in the West End I go to, and I have had no problems, even though I'm there, late at night.
And I will tell you one thing that I feel very lucky with the neighborhood I live in is I have the luck of having a lot of neighbors who are aware of their surroundings.
Right. And
so a
that
lot of
helps.
us will take, not necessarily by any sort of organization, but a lot of us will spend time, for instance, in our backyard, looking at the back alley, making sure if there are people walking through the back alley that don't look like they should be there, all you have to do is make sure that they notice you, that you're watching them, and they're going to go pick someplace else. So I think, crime is a very multi-layered problem. It delves into economics.
Well, it's not binary. I mean, there's so many elements to the problem.
Of course there are. But
But I was looking at some of the statistics. Places like Cumberland and Salisbury, the crime is far worse than here in Hagerstown. And I'm
we
thinking,
always managed to get on those
Ocean
lists,
City.
Lists of
on
whatever,
Facebook that demean Hagerstown, and it's
Well,
great, and many
now,
of the great facilities.
clickbait.
in all fairness, and
They're
I would like to
clickbait.
make a comment about that because I've seen a lot of those, 10 worst, whatever, 10 fattest,
Oh, yeah,
whatever,
they're clickbait.
and they're all written by one guy.
Yeah.
And he must have some sort of a bone to pick with Hagerstown.
Well, he probably got a speed cam ticket.
Maybe. Or his
probably
Enough to
right
set you
there.
over the edge.
maybe his ex-wife or his ex-girlfriend was from Hagerstown, or something happened.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
always
Maybe
written
he
by the
just
same
didn't like
person.
Bob Brucci,
Oh,
No.
Maybe.
well, what do people think
Who
about
does?
the
But
oh.
I do. But
We love Bob.
But what do you guys think about the quality of our police enforcement
Oh, they're
here. Doug
great.
Mullendore
fine.
is, I
Oh,
think, is really a,
absolutely.
Yeah, top-notch
Yeah.
a top-notch guy. We have the new, at least the police chief pro tem.
Right.
Well, Kuiper seems to be, I mean, I had a long chat with him
Well,
one day at an event.
Yeah,
And,
and-
you know, these guys, they show up at the community things. They are community
Community
policing
policing.
Exactly.
focused.
Well,
And gee,
And
that's
I
really
think that
good.
the last
Yeah.
election with Mullendore really spoke volumes to the county's view of him.
Yeah.
He got like 98% of the vote, I
So he
think it
didn't have an
was.
opponent.
Well, he had some write-in opponents, but
Well, nobody wants to run against him because,
because he does such a
Very
good
popular.
job.
But let me ask you this:
Yes.
is it a fair assertion from elected officials to target downtown Hagerstown, especially where the Bisfa School is located? I mean, we've talked, you have talked about this on other shows, and bringing this full circle. You know, when an elected official like Karen Harshman, who sits on our board of education, when she makes a comment to say that downtown, I wouldn't send my child downtown. Downtown is not safe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't walk from down one side of the street to
Right.
the other. Whatever. I really think that that's unfair. And then when the mayor talked to her about it, I think
She hung up.
Yeah, and that's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Or she
Well,
hung
you
up
know,
on him, right?
She had hung
you
up
know,
on him.
Well, and-
and I would really encourage her to say, okay, if that's what she really believes, bring forward the statistics to back that up.
Well, not
And-
only that, but
can't.
here's the deal. As an elected official, you have a responsibility to be
Tell the truth?
positive. Well, to tell the truth, first of all, and be positive. So if you feel unsafe downtown, offer a solution.
Yes.
Don't just criticize, because
Yeah.
criticizing doesn't solve any
Well,
problems.
that's what happens
No.
in Washington County a lot
Yeah.
of times. Is people have so many complaints and they have so many.
Yeah.
And Ken, you see this all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, absolutely.
Like on what's the group? What's happening in Hagerstown?
Right.
Right.
I mean, I got out of that group because it's so negative. I mean,
Well,
there's.
and you bring up, I think, an excellent point. That's what I was going to bring up as well. Is they recently had, they reached out for ideas on this walking trail from downtown to the from the Arts District to the city park, and there were 5 positive comments. And then everybody else started raining on the parade. Everybody was complaining about
We're gonna get
everything
mugged.
and
That was one of the
everything
comments.
else, which had
Yeah.
absolutely nothing with the topic. And I'm sorry, if you don't like it here, move somewhere else.
well, there's
Yeah.
terrific
Or propose
number.
a solution
yeah.
to make it better.
Right.
Yeah, but there's a terrific
But if you
number
can't
of
propose
events.
a solution, move away.
We have
Or at least
events
shut
in
up.
the city all the
The
time.
Downtown Alliance, the partnership.
All kinds of stuff goes on there.
Yeah.
It's
Pop-up
an
shops.
alive place. Most people I know of aren't afraid to go down there for these events.
Did you guys ever go to the donut drop?
Yes.
That's a blast.
I haven't
Yes,
been
it
able to
is.
do that yet.
I
but
need
this
to.
year
I need
especially.
to.
Well, yeah,
But
I've been
I heard it
near
was really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it was.
And look at those
what I
young
heard.
folks that are downtown right now that are rejuvenated through a movement, the downtown movement. And I just want to say,
Yes.
hats off to them for putting a plan in place
Yeah.
and then executing it with a lot of energy and an equal amount of passion.
Yeah, and, I've got friends
Yeah.
on that movement, and very definitely kudos to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of good things to be said about the reality of the situation here in Hagerstown. I mean, the problem is the perception, and it gets publicized left and right by our friend here who does all those things on Facebook and everything, and the media things. And I think it's time to call a halt to some of that,
Yeah.
and just, support our people like
Yes.
Doug Mullendore and our police chief. So with that being said, I think that should be the last word. We should move on to debate season is back on our panel, and will provide their analysis on both the Republican and the Democratic debates, so stay tuned.